Squiggly the Squirrel down at the dump. Chapter 2. Can anybody hear me? Squiggly's school was at the end of the block in a large sable palm. At recess, he and the other little squirrels would race up and down the fronds and around the trunk, or they'd play their own version of King of the Mountain. Today Squiggly leapt, ran, and climbed his way to the very tip-top of the highest frond on the palm tree. He was really feeling like a king. His schoolmates were cheering for him when suddenly they heard a rumbling and the ground began shaking. The other little squirrels ran for cover as Squiggly slipped and grabbed hold of the frond. Looking down the street, he could see a monstrous garbage truck filled with trash coming closer to the tree. As the huge truck got nearer, the tree began to shake, and the frond began to sway. It swayed gently at first, then harder and harder, and soon it was flying back and forth as if it were in a hurricane. Squiggly hung on for dear life as the frond dipped way down towards the street. "Hang on, Squiggly!" shouted his friends, and one little girl squirrel began to cry. Suddenly there was a large boom as the truck hit a bump in the road. The entire palm thrust upward and then slammed down. When it settled, the frond gave one final massive jerk, and try as he might to hold on, Squiggly lost his grip. He felt himself falling, down, down, down. Thrashing at the air, he tried desperately to find something to grab onto. Finally, with a plop, he stopped falling. Looking up, the little squirrel could just see the palm tree getting smaller in the distance. He was in the back of the garbage truck. Climbing up the mountain of trash, Squiggly tried to leap over the side of the truck, but smashing into the rusty metal side, he slid back onto the mound of trash. When the truck rounded the corner, he saw the oak tree that was his home disappearing from view. The little squirrel slumped onto the smelly trash and began to cry, softly at first, then louder and louder. His mother had always been there to save him. Where was she? Would she be able to find him? How could he get home? What could he do? "Mother, mother!" the little squirrel cried, but there was no answer, only the rumbling of the truck as it began to travel faster and faster. Squiggly felt very small and alone. As the truck continued speeding down the road, the wind blew the trash around until it was like being in a dust devil of garbage. Squiggly shut his eyes and tried to hold on, but with every bump he was thrown off his feet. Burying his head in his arms, the little squirrel curled his tail around his body, rolled himself into a ball. There he lay crying and crying. He had never been away from his neighborhood before, and he knew his mother would be worried about him. Suddenly the truck came to a halt. Whirr went some sort of a machine, and before Squiggly could figure out what was happening, the entire truck seemed to be rising up on its front legs. The back wall clanged open, and Squiggly and all the trash were dumped out the back of the truck onto an enormous mound of smelly trash. He stood up to catch his breath when suddenly everything around him went black as he was knocked to the ground and covered with another load of trash. Struggling to breathe, the little squirrel felt the ground shake as the truck pulled away. "Help! Help!" cried Squiggly. "Oh, can anybody hear me? Help! Help!" "I say, Matty, old girl, do you hear that?" "Of course, Reginald. Do you think I'm deaf or daft? I think someone is buried under this mound." Squiggly could hear them talking, then he felt something digging. "I'm over here. Please hurry. I can hardly breathe." "Faster, Marigold, faster. I am digging as fast as I bloody can, Reg, and do stop ordering me about. You aren't royalty, you know." "Sorry, old girl. Well, well, what have we here?" Squiggly squinted at the sunlight hit him directly in the face. He could just make out two of the strangest and largest birds he had ever seen. They were white with gray wings, spindly yellow legs, and long slender beaks that bent down at the tip. One wore a monocle and the other wore gloves, had a purse over one wing, and a large floral hat with one brim down over her left eye. "I say, Matty, what do you think it is?" "Oh, Reg, I'm not quite sure. It appears to be a squirrel, but that's impossible." "I am a squirrel," said Squiggly, crawling out from under a plastic bottle and an old umbrella. "And what are you?" "We are British, and don't be silly. Of course you're not a squirrel. Squirrels live in trees." "It looks like a squirrel to me, Marigold." "Yes, Reginald, it does. But why on earth would a squirrel be in the middle of our lunch? Most inconvenient." "Well, let's ask it." Reginald gently bowed his head down to Squiggly and asked, "I say, young squirrel, what are you doing in the middle of our feast?" "I don't know. I was playing at school and fell from the tree. Now I'm here, and I don't even know where here is. Who are you?" "Well, "We're Mr. and Mrs. Gull. We just flew in from London, and this is supposed to be Orlando. You know, the home of the mouse, the whales, and the adventure." "I don't know anything about all that. I just want to go home." "Well, then go and get out of our mill," demanded Marigold. "Now, Marigold, don't be rude." "But I don't know how to get home. I don't even know where I am," said Squiggly, as he began to cry again. "Oh, dear Reginald, I hate it when things cry. Make him stop." "Now, dear boy, here, tut, tss, tss, keep a stiff upper lip. There'll always be an England." "Where, where, where?" Squiggly cried louder and louder.